Hello, I'm Rebecca of the Garden Gate Flower Company.
And I'm Grace of Grace Alexander Flowers.
And we've come together to create Stuart and Alexander Gather at the Garden Gate.
A podcast taking you behind the scenes of two gardens, what we've been up to inside, outside and out and about.
And welcome to episode 2 of Stuart and Alexander. Hello. How are you, Grace?
Hey you. I'm really well,
Good.
thank you. Wet, because it's absolutely pouring with rain for the 8th day in a row. But no, I'm all good. How are
Fine.
you?
I feel exactly the same. I think we might be sprouting red feet at some stage. It hasn't even been like just showers, has it? It's been biblical. It's been, you can't leave the house wet. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm recording this in my studio now because the house is a building site.
Wow.
So I did have to just dash holding my scrap of
Wow.
paper with my ins, outs and outs out and my hot chocolate. And yes, do that sort of try and put something over your head
Well,
dash.
Give it to and you'll have the sunshine we've got now. So sorry, I've sent it all your way, but it followed by sunshine.
Lovely.
Yeah,
Oh, wonderful.
I know, exactly. And the interesting thing is, driving home from my out, I seem to follow the same bad weather all the way. It seemed to be really bad weather, but actually, interestingly, is this whole thing that you definitely get it after us, don't you? Because I rang my son
Yes.
in Cornwall and he was like, Mum, it's horrific here. The garden is flooding. I was like, oh no, I'm at least 2 hours away. What are you doing to stop it? Obviously, at 18, nothing. Yeah.
Ringing his mum.
And then by within about half an hour, we started driving into it. It was really awful. But anyway, so should we start? Should we start with my out? Given that I know you've poured yourself yourself a hot chocolate, so you can sit there and sip quietly.
You're just desperate to do an out, aren't
It's
you?
going to be far and few between. It really is. It is for me.
Go
So
on.
my out,
Go on.
I thought, what garden can I visit in that area? And do you know what? I've been because I used to live in this area, and I've been up and down for years and years and years. But obviously done it with children, so never even dreamt of going near a garden because that would equal huffs, puffs and general sulking. So I only had one out of my 3 boys to have huffs, puffs and general sulking, and that was my husband. So I made him come to Hauser, Wirth, which was lovely. Can I just say, I didn't actually realise it was free to get into the garden unless I just didn't pay. It's free. What those? I
know.
didn't even know that.
I know. No, I pop in quite frequently. I have to say, if I'm ever in that area, I will even just for 10 minutes because you can. Because,
You can.
Yeah, because it's free.
So I genuinely did not realise this. But also, can I just ask? I feel like I want people to literally respond to this, but obviously they can't because we're recording this. But am I the only person that really didn't know where to go the entire time when I got there? I was like, so sorry, where do you go for food? For some reason we arrived, I couldn't work out where the garden was, where the canteen was, restaurant was.
Canteen. Ross Bar and Grill.
Where's your canteen? You know, I was just like, there's no directions to anything. If you come here, you must feel it, where it all is.
Have, I think, found myself, and I've been there quite a few times, so I know it relatively well, and I have occasionally found myself in the wrong place and gone, oh, this wasn't quite the door I was expecting to go through. And then, yes, eventually.
Okay, so that's the thing. So there's no sort of door that leads you to, very obviously, the garden. And I was a little bit like, am I just going through a back door or... So I found that all a bit weird. It's quite nice because it's really unlabelled, which if you go to any National Trust, you've got sort of pathways, signs everywhere. But it was slightly sort of like I felt really like I wasn't local when I went there. But we
didn't feel like a journey of discovery. It felt
like
like
I just felt like I was going to do something and get told off. That was what I did think the whole time. And I have been known.
Yes, the people that work there, to be fair, are the telling off
are
kind. I have struggled slightly with,
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, we arrived anyway, and we were very hungry by the time we got there. So we had a lovely sharing charcuterie board, which was absolutely beautiful, like literally spot on. But actually the table next to me, they had the soup, which looked like a really hearty, oaty sort of soup. And I did have slight sort of food envy. I mean, normally I have food envy with my husband, but this sort of like spiraled to the table next to me, which is never good. They are not going to oblige you of sharing. But it was lovely. It was really nice. And actually I was quite surprised because it was actually quite a sunny day. And I thought it would be busier than it was. But actually, it seemed to be quite a transient case, that people were coming and going quite quickly. But we didn't even try to get into the restaurant. We went into the pub part, which I have to say was really interesting. The installations, the recycled installation art above the bar was kept us mesmerised for hours on end, really. But I love it was the shop with the bookshop with the floor, the
Yes.
the lovely red brick
Yes.
floor and the pink
Yes.
walls. I was a bit obsessed. And actually, my husband, so it was hard to actually draw him away from all the books. He really enjoyed that. He thought that was brilliant. The garden itself was lovely. I would say I was really at the end of visiting a garden, of any garden, I think, possibly in the whole of the UK, probably looking anything at all decent. But the grasses looked amazing, the Japanese anemones, the asters. It's the structure, isn't it, there?
I've been sitting on my hands and I've been wanting to message
Yeah.
you all week, but I thought I'd leave it for this, which is I'm leaving it another couple of weeks before
Okay,
I go,
interesting. Yeah.
because it is an autumn garden. It is meant to look good dead. It is meant to look good in its
Yeah.
dying. I was thinking you might be too early.
It's really interesting you say that, because I reckon that garden's going to look really good. Yeah. A bit the flower thing, the flower structure, there isn't actually that many flowers in it. Like I said, there isn't.
No,
You're right.
no.
It's grasses, sedums. I did love the retaining steel edges and things like that. Like, it's got a real strong structure. It's got a good. Do you know,
Yeah,
good
it does.
jawline? That garden has got a good jawline.
Oh,
Yeah.
mm.
So
Uh-huh.
I could imagine in winter where it's almost clipped and trimmed back, it's going to look incredible. You know.
They don't.
But they
So
leave it
that's
really
the
wild.
thing. So it's all about the skeletons and the seed heads and the shapes as things are dead. I don't think they cut it back until
Yeah.
very early in the season.
Mm.
But I did see you holding some seed packets in
know.
the shop, which I thought they'd stopped doing.
Oh.
I had, yes, because I had some years ago, but it looks like I might
Yeah,
have to go
yeah.
back.
Well, it was there. It was
and
just
get
a
some
tiny little
more.
corner, and I just looked and saw it. And it was right next to a lovely notebook with all the picture of it, which was very nice as well. It was all very tempting, and I did.
Did you get a map? When you went in,
No,
did
of
you get
course
a
I
map?
didn't get a map. I never get maps. I never get
Oh.
maps.
So the
Ugh.
map totally changed how I
Oh, right,
went
well, I've got to
round
go
it,
back.
just because of
Go to win.
God, go back in 3 weeks' time with the map, just in terms of the planting and just orientating yourself in amongst the planting. And of course, I spent the whole time going, "What is this? And what is this? And which carex is this?" And it,
I didn't like the
yes, it was
ponds.
lovely. I think no,
They
I
were
know
a
what you
bit
mean.
sinister. I don't know.
I shouldn't. Yeah, so they're right at the
Yeah,
front
they
to the
are.
left, don't they? So I tend to scoot round those and go round the sweeping curves around the
I
right-hand side.
would say as well, I very much went off-piste and didn't stick to the middle parts. I went in amongst it and around the edges, which I
Yeah.
quite liked.
Yeah.
So you almost get vistas back across it quite a lot, rather than just the main sort of walkway in the middle, which has got these little grass mounds broken up, which is very lovely. But I wanted to get in and around the edges of it, mainly because I was probably doing the same as you and snooping right in the beds and seeing what they had, saying, this is the only way to do it. But the pod at the back, which I'm sure is not called a pod, and I didn't look up what it's called, so apologies if it's a, but
I
maybe
think
it
it might
is
be a
like a pod,
pod.
isn't it? I loved
Yeah.
those window that I put it on my Instagram, and I put it on the Stuart Alexander Instagram. The way when you journey through it, it's almost like a moving picture, which brings me on to think that in itself was absolutely stunning, seeing the garden from inside out, which, if we cast our minds back to the Tom Stuart-Smith's garden in Chelsea, and his lovely little hut in the garden with his Arga and everything like that, and that lovely back window, do you remember? And it looked out onto all those foxgloves.
Like a picture
Yes,
window.
it's like,
Yeah.
and it makes, and I don't know about your new place and the design, and when you're designing a new garden, you've got to go into your house and see what your garden is like from inside your house. My garden, very much, my entire house is front faces my garden, so there's no windows at the back of my house at all, because we're part of the coachworks. So all my windows face my garden, and I've always been really conscious of what my garden looks like from inside, but not. I think I've done it subconsciously, and it's a really lovely reminder going around that garden, Hauser Wirth, that actually the vistas from within, they were really exploiting that. And it made me just go, oh yeah, actually, and because it's a really the pod I'm talking about at the end of the garden. There's this window, and it's a tunnel vision window. It's really strange the way it's made. It's arches around, so it makes you walk around it, and then it's really clever because actually your vision changes as you walk around it because you see different parts of it. And it actually turns slightly away from the car park, which is quite clever as well. So it doesn't allow you to quite see the car park. But just remember when you're doing a garden, to anyone listening, yes, you can make it all lovely from within your garden, but when you go back in your house, as we spend so much time in our houses, don't we, with all the weather we've had, what does it look like from inside looking out?
Absolutely. Your kitchen window where you're
Yes.
washing up,
Yep.
particularly.
Yeah,
I
exactly
think.
exactly that. So it's made me, my winner after seeing Tom's garden and the foxgloves, I had actually already planted my foxgloves by window. It's like we had actually swapped notes, but we hadn't, because I actually had white foxgloves by my window. But that is, if you've got a drop from your front window to a flower bed, remember you've got to have height. So foxgloves, ammy, anything like that is going to give you that height by your windowsill. Because I hate window boxes, they dry out, and mine are all sloping windowsills, so they're slopes, so there's no good. So yeah, that was my enjoyable out. But yeah, I think given that I go back to that area, it wasn't really a detour of great significance for me to go and see it again. I wonder what it is like in spring. Do they bulk plant it?
Alliums. They do
Yeah, I'm
have
not
lots of
surprised.
alliums, but the later alliums and the drumstick type ones, not the big sparkly
Yeah, I can't think that
ones.
they're into tulips and things.
No. So I have got a date in my diary for, is it next week or the week after, to go and do a whole film there. Although if this rain carries on, I'm not quite sure what I'll do. So everyone cross their fingers
rubbish,
for
isn't it?
a dry day, and then I will go and film.
It'll be interesting to see then,
'Cause
comparing my
we are-
video and yours, of the difference in just a few weeks. We should do that.
Yes, absolutely. It is right on the town at the moment. But the worry is always what they want. What we want for it is a lovely, dry, crisp autumn. And this wet, I think lots of stuff is just going to be battered. I know lots of my stuff is just looking
it's dreadful.
a bit horizontal.
It's dreadful. Our Japanese anemones are growing sideways, not up. So tell me, are we going to go out for you as well?
I was going to go in
in.
because I've got a bit of a Tom Stuart-Smith
Okay,
link.
go on then. That's lovely. Go in.
Because we hinted last week, and then I had to switch the recording off so I could tell you, because at the time it wasn't public, but it is now public. So my in is that I have been writing my first piece for an amazing project called Scribe Hound Gardening, which I'm still slightly overwhelmed by excitement about. I am very much pinch myself. There's this whole thing about goal setting now, and you should know exactly what it is that you want and you should go for it. And I'm just like, I don't think that works, because some of the very best things that have ever happened to me are things that I could not have wished for in a million years. And what happened was, it's only a couple of weeks ago now. It's all been a bit of a whirlwind. James Alexander Sinclair, who is one of the funniest men on the planet. I don't have much of a sense of humour. I'm going to be really honest with you. I'm a bit dry, and he's hilarious, and he makes me laugh out loud, and that's quite an achievement. Anyway, he emailed me, and I just sat there going, James Alexander Sinclair has emailed me. What is going on? And then opened the email, and he said, I've got a new project on. We wondered if you're interested. And I just said, yes, I am.
And there you leave it. Yes, I am. Yeah.
Well, he said, I just wondered if you wanted to chat about it. I said, you could do, but I'm still interested. So we had a Zoom and had a bit of a chat about this amazing new project. So it is so exciting and such a lovely, lovely idea. It's James and Sue Biggs of ex-RHS fame. And it's a really lovely way of allowing some of the most, I have to say this carefully because I still feel so weird that I'm in it, but some of the most famous and some of the most exciting garden writers who are working at the moment to unshackle themselves from the quite traditional publishing sort of etiquette, should we say, and to just write what they want to write, and write passion pieces and opinion pieces and just really unfettered thoughts and feelings about things, very personal pieces. So even after I said yes, he didn't really have to sell it to me, but he did. So some of the names on the list, including Tom Stuart-Smith and his wife, Sue Stuart-Smith, who is obviously someone very close to my heart as a psychiatrist working in horticulture and horticultural therapies. Adam Frost, Sarah Raven, Alan Titchmarsh.
Love Alan.
So I'm just like Joe Swift. He was just, I know, although hilariously, I don't know what to share you, but I will. on Instagram, somebody commented on one of the posts. I think it was one that Joe did a little video for. And he was just like, oh, God, all the old faces. Couldn't you've got someone new and exciting in? And I was
That's
like,
you.
oh, my God, this
That's
is
you.
brilliant.
You're new and exciting.
I didn't think I am new and exciting. I think I'm establishment now.
Wow. Wow. There we go.
And that made me feel even
Oh.
better than being a
Oh.
newbie. Yeah. So that's my
Yeah.
in, is that I've been just having a bit of time actually doing some writing.
How often are you going to be writing for them then, Grace?
So how it works is I write something
Yeah.
once a month and I record it. So I speak as
Love
well as
it.
write it. And then I send it off to Scribe Hound Gardening. And so does everybody else. And there are 30 people in Scribe Hound Gardening. If you sign up, and I'll put a link in the show notes. If you sign up, you get a piece in your inbox every day from somebody on the
I
team.
see.
And so rather than it just being one person, so if you're on a Substack or a Patreon or whatever, something like that, obviously you just get content from one person. Whereas with this, you get 30 different
Who's doing the
people,
31st day?
all just
Day off.
where there's a 31st, they are taking submissions from guest contributors. And where there is someone who is writing something really good and really interesting, that's the 31st.
Well, that's really clever. What a clever people to design that.
What a clever,
Yeah, that's very
I know,
interesting.
but just so
yeah, that's
lovely.
very interesting.
So there's a great offer on at the moment, which is £1 for the first month, which is actually going to be November. We're launching the 1st of November. And then it's half price for the whole first year. So I'll put a link to the offer in the show notes for this. And yeah, I'm overwhelmingly thrilled.
Say then also dyslexia friendly because it is spoken word as well as
Yes.
Do you think they heard us discussing that, or do you think they had that idea themselves? I reckon they've added that in after they heard our podcast. I reckon
it's a tension between who wants it more, the people with dyslexia or the dog
yeah,
walkers.
yeah. This is true. Yeah, exactly. Or anyone that's got any journey to make in their car. Yeah, exactly. Well, that is really exciting. My in isn't quite as exciting at all, but I am very conscious that, I mean, we don't really, this year has been so topsy-turvy with the weather. We don't tend to get a frost particularly early in Cornwall, but as we know, we had that awful cold snap, which luckily didn't get too cold here. But I've been thinking about my centre pelargoniums. And as I'm a huge fan of them, because I made you go around the table at Chelsea.
Chelsea.
Which I have to say, they've come on really beautifully. They look amazing, my new ones. Really, really nice. Although I gifted one to Becky, who turned hers into this enormous, great big plant. Mine is still like average size. Don't you just hate that when you do that? You gift somebody something and then they just make it even better and bigger. I'm like, oh, Becky, I don't understand. It's in the same size pot. Okay, it's in a slightly different location to where I put mine, obviously. But how do some people make things double the size of yours?
I know. I gave my mum a rose. I had a row of them and I needed the space and I dug one out and she put it in her garden. And yes, it is thriving in a way that mine really are.
It's so annoying. I sort of want to take mine and swap mine off her table on my table. I think she might notice it. That's the thing. But so basically I've got all these beautiful centre pelargoniums and normally I would bring them into the greenhouse over winter to protect them, all that sort of jazz. But I really need to obviously not clog up my greenhouse. So I've decided I'm going to bring most of my centre pelargoniums, it might be the old one or two that has to go in the greenhouse, but bring them, most of them inside. Because Becky also brings a lot of Becky's like the oracle. She brings all hers inside and then makes them look all lovely. So my aim is to style out these centre pelargoniums in my very small limited spaces I've got in a Cornish cottage to enjoy them over winter. That's my aim. And I've never really done it very successfully, but I'm hoping I will do this time. So I've got a windowsill in the bathroom, which is south facing, which should be quite nice. And then I've got one by the Argo, which is actually already looking quite good. I've tested it and it quite likes it there. I'm a bit worried about the creepy crawly spiders thing that happens when you bring anything from outside in. Let's just get over that. So what I probably do need to be is practical and look at some sort of plant tray because they're all in big terracotta pots. And as much as I don't mind it, one of my windowsills is painted, which is a bit frustrating really, and there's no quite nice way of doing it. I need to get a good water tray really to put them in. So I'm organising myself. That's what I'm doing. I'm doing my organisation of where everything's going to go over winter. Is that It's a bit boring, isn't it? Sorry.
Yeah, I'm now feeling I'm feeling a bit, I don't know, a bit chastised because I've had my pelargoniums on my kitchen windowsill all summer.
Good on
Now I
you.
feel like I should have put them
Well,
outside.
I always put mine outside. I always do. But I must admit, they look amazing inside. I'm not very good at looking after things in multiple places. So once it comes to summer, I'm better with outside. And then once summer is to bed for winter, I definitely am quite good at focusing myself inside. I'm not very good at multitasking in and out.
No, fair enough.
You have a lot of areas to
I
cope
do
with
have a
as well,
lot to
don't you?
manage.
Yeah.
So that's been my organisation. Do yours keep growing all winter then because you bring them inside?
To be honest, they did nothing
Right.
last year, and I was feeling rather guilty that they were very unhappy. So I repotted them a couple of
Right.
months ago, and also I just split them into cuttings as well. So I've got about 4 or 5 now, and they've grown like the clappers ever since. They haven't flowered
Right,
yet,
yeah.
but they look so much happier. So the compost that I had them in, don't get me started on
Please
compost,
don't. Let's not have that.
was
Yeah.
awful. So I do get fungus gnats though. Do you
I
get
think I get
those?
lots. I think once when I bought some in, I had some sort of bug of some description or anything. I can't remember what it was, but I get it.
They just hop around all over
Yeah,
the place.
that's my area where I'm not that happy with. I'm happy for nature to be outside. Yeah.
Yeah. So with mine, so I've got lots of basil and some salad leaves and stuff like that on the kitchen windowsill, like just microgreen type stuff. And the fungus gnats did get really bad. But what I did was I took the pelargoniums and I just put a really thick layer of perlite on
Did
the
that stop
top,
them?
and that's it. Yeah. If you've got nice gravel, washed gravel, just as well,
Okay.
thing like that. I just happen to have some perlite to hand.
Oh, I
It
could
doesn't
do
look
that.
great,
I
but
could
yeah,
do that. So do that before when you bring them in, get them all cleaned up and done. I was even wondering about
Yes,
repotting
yes.
actually before I bring them in. That was what I was wondering about, giving them a bit of a tidy up.
Yeah, you don't want
Growing,
them to
do you?
be fed too much
No.
at the because you don't want to start them off into growth. You don't want to start feeding
No.
your roses now. So yeah, I'd leave them till
And then
spring, and then
make them pretty after that. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
says me, like I know anything about pelargoniums. I'm terrible at houseplants.
I think
but yeah.
sometimes it's trial and error, isn't it? And it's a sense of what to do. Yeah, what to do. I wouldn't have thought about the gravel, so that's really good. I'm going to take that tip. Thank you. That's good. And what about out? What have you been up to out?
What have I been up to? I declared last weekend Sweet Pea
Yeah, you did,
Sunday
didn't you?
because it was a biodynamic flower day, and we're now in October, which is about I know. So I declared it the day that I was going to sow all my sweet peas. So I have really pushed the amount of sweet peas that I thought I was going to grow, and I've tripled it basically. So root trainers everywhere, pots, tubes, everything everywhere. I haven't finished all of them yet, I confess. I've got so many to sow, but I have been, yes, that is what I've been doing. But also it was Sweet Pea Sunday for everyone else. So I'm sitting in my studio amongst a pile of envelopes that I'm going to go to the post office after we've recorded this, although it is
Tipping it down.
hammering
Tipping
with
it down.
rain. So I'm going to have to run back in the house to get an umbrella to not get any of the addresses wet.
Yeah.
Yeah. So packing orders, sowing sweet peas, and generally dreaming about where they're going to go next year, because that's going to be a big issue. I already was pushing it a little bit in terms of what I could fit in the flower field, but I've spent the morning drafting some emails to landscapers to see whether or not I can get the rest of the garden landscaped by March next year, and then obviously I'll have loads more space.
You've got the
for them,
same
but
trial that I had
that
when
is
I took this bit of land, and then was like, can I get somebody to put a polytunnel up before? It's like, it's almost, it's so frustrating, isn't it? Because you need it all in before everything starts to get going, which generally speaking means that you're getting people in over winter, which isn't a great time to do anything, is it really?
No, although, if you're moving plants, and we will be moving quite a lot of trees and topiary and big bits like that, it is a good, but it is that really irritating thing. We were talking about this a bit on the last podcast, that there's windows in the year that if you miss even 2-3 weeks, you've lost a year.
Oh, totally.
Almost. Yeah, sometimes there's later opportunities. So I will do lots more sowing of things I missed in September again in March, but at the same time, you have blinked and missed a window.
It's funny, I've done, so my out is that I have done lots of autumn sowing. My sweet peas are already, I was a bit ahead of you with sweet peas. So mine are now, are now out and been potted on and
Up and out?
They're up and out. They
Gosh.
are. They're up and out. I have done a really good crop. I've really limited the amount I've grown there, which is unlike you because obviously we do different things. But I've really I've kept my varieties quite tight this year, having done quite a few last year and having a look. I really made a decision on the ones I really needed and the ones that were maybe a bit more reliable, a bit more robust, things like that.
All go on. Top three.
Gosh,
Top three.
well,
Go on.
Juliet
On the spot.
would be my
Yeah.
Juliet. To be honest with you,
Yes.
if I only grew one sweet pea, Juliet would be the sweet pea.
Oh,
Which is funny because
yeah.
having spoken, I spoke to Becky about this a lot actually, and Becky doesn't like it. And I think it's interesting because I think it probably attracts people like me who have to do wedding work, but it is a slightly dead, fleshy, champagne-y. She didn't really like it because of the dead, fleshy sort of thing. So for me, Juliet sits in the same sort of category as Cafe au lait Dahlia. It's that sort of colouring. But I would say it's, you know, if it's a sweet pea you want as a reliable, that for me was a very reliable sweet pea. King's Ransom was my other one as a newbie, amazing. And that has that lovely watermelon, coral, and that was really, really good. I really did like that. And then as a wild card, I've got other ones, but as a wild card this year that I'm gonna tell you about, a Spanish Dancer.
Oh, really?
I know, I love you. I love you. I knew, do you know, I knew that would be your reaction. Really? Yeah. Go on, tell them why you don't like it. I know exactly why you don't like it. I probably won't like it. I probably won't like it.
I mean,
I just...
mostly because it's hideous.
It's not hideous. I love you. I'm going to go back and check. I really liked it. I really liked it. So I'm not a big fan. I will say I've got a blue. Can't remember what the blue is I bought now. I should have actually. High Scent's the other one. High Scent is the other one.
Yeah,
That's
a
the classic.
classic.
I'm trying to put in something that's something that people wouldn't have necessarily thought about. Go and look at Spanish Dancer.
I know exactly what it looks like. Yeah, it's not hideous. You're right. It's not hideous. It's
two-tone.
There's a lot
There's
going
a
on.
lot going on.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on.
Yeah.
But do you know what? Sometimes, so when I grew some of these, I just thought, I don't like the veiny ones. Okay, I'm putting that out there. Flaked. Yeah, that's what you call them. Flaked. I didn't like those. They look, to be honest with you, they just looked water damaged. That's my feeling. I liked Piggy Sue, and I liked, what was the other one? Oh, we talked about it. What was the one? Tickle Pink, is that? Tickle Pink? But
Tickle
that was
Pink,
just,
oh.
that was a nightmare.
Tickle Pink
yeah,
was
that was
awful.
just a nightmare. But on paper, that should have been much better, I think.
I haven't even harvested
did you
it.
not?
I hated
Okay, that's
it.
interesting.
I'm not selling it. I don't like it. I'm really cross with the people that photographed it for the front of the seed packet and made it look really nice.
It didn't come out the same
which
way
made
at
me
all,
buy
did it?
loads
No,
of
I
it.
agree.
Did not
No.
come out the same way. And no, so I've left all the seed on the plant and I will put it all in the compost. I was really cross about that.
Becky,
It was flattest. It was flat pink.
no, I agree with you. It wasn't right.
No.
My crop wasn't very good at all. Becky had a really lovely, deep Albany colour, and I did like that. I can't remember. I don't even know whether she told me what it was, but she saved some seed of that and is going to grow some of that. I didn't want to grow it in my area because mine predominantly, I need very bland colours. That's the thing.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing to consider when you're doing anything in terms of obviously my side of things, is you just need volume of that middle bracket of colour, the cream, champagne.
Yeah.
And and it's quite hard. I think in a sweet pea, it's quite hard to find a warm pink rather than that cold pink. Which is why
that's why Piggy Sue is so good, because it is that creamy
I've got Piggy Sue.
pink.
Yeah.
And Juliet is cream with a touch of apricot, so that does work.
Yeah,
really
I
well.
do love that.
Yeah. Those creamy
Yeah,
ones.
I do. So basically, I've made my list quite short, and neat, and I will wait. They've all come out. Oh, they've all come up. They all look very healthy, and we'll just see how we get on with those. So I'm going to grow some. Some of them will go into the tunnel, and some of them will go outside, and then I'll do another sowing in sort of January time, I expect. January, February.
I just need to get mine in and growing, I think, because I am slightly paralysed by how many
I
I've
might try and
got.
get mine in the ground of my tunnel in fairly good time as well.
It's all in the root
Yeah,
systems
yeah.
at this stage.
So that's my
yeah.
thought, is that once my tunnel is cleared, I might go really controversial and actually get them into the ground in quite good time. Because it's a tunnel. They can just grow away in the bottom. Do you know what I mean? I'm sure people
Yeah.
are screaming at me on the other end, going, no, don't do that because of this. But you know what? Sometimes it's nice to try things.
Yeah, I mean, what I would say is they do like to be cold and
Yeah.
hard over
Yeah.
the winter, as long as your polyton's not
No,
heated
it's
or
very
anything like
open
that,
and
it'll be all right.
breezy. It's very open and breezy. Yeah,
That'd be all right then.
Out. What have you been doing out?
I did just, she says, sorry, it's going to make you terribly
Yeah.
envious, but I did just hop on the train on the Saturday and popped up
I
to
wondered
London.
where you were going.
Yes. I had a little day out. It's been 15 years since I qualified as a clinical psychologist.
Congratulations.
And thank you very much. 15 years in the same job. Thank you very much to my team. And there was a little get together, and it was a bit coincidental in terms of time, get together of some of the people that I trained with. So it's really funny. I know we've talked about this before, I feel like my community, my tribe is very much flower people and gardeners, socially and emotionally. That's very much the people I mix with. I don't really mix with other psychologists. But these are some people that I do love very dearly. So there were 4 of us, and we just went for dim sum in Baker Street, which was rather bizarre and exciting and not very Somerset at all. And I didn't pick the venue at all because we're scattered all over the place now, as people are. And I just thought, any chance it could be somewhere near Paddington, that would be lovely. So Baker Street it was, but it was just off Baker Street. So I came out. Everyone else we were sat there for something like 5 hours, just absolutely putting the world to right. And I had an hour or so before my train, and of course I found myself on Marylebone High Street.
As you do.
And as you do, so I went to VV Rouleaux to go and look at ribbons for Christmas.
I wouldn't even dare step foot in there. I could imagine it would be carnage if I went in.
It was so much fun, actually. So I was looking about whether or not they had any raw silk that I could home dye. But actually, I just got completely caught up in some of the beautiful colours. So silks and velvets, and they've got some really nice sort of herringbone type linen ones, which I really liked as well. And the most amazing mustards and like marine blues. And
don't. It's awful.
So I just took a gazillion photos so that I could order them all on the trade website for Christmas. And then just around the corner is Ottolenghi. I've never really got Ottolenghi, if I'm honest.
I want to get Ottolenghi, but
it's
there's a lot of investment into ingredients.
But the window, I walked past it and I carried on walking, and then I stopped and I went, you know what, I'm going back. So I just nipped in and got myself a cup of Earl Grey and a beautiful cake. But just the bowls of food, I suddenly got why everyone gets really excited about him, because it was just so beautiful.
Was it a deli, or was it actually, can you actually go in there and eat? Can you?
So you can go in there and eat, but there was one very long, big table. And so actually I got a takeaway and drank the tea on the move and then ate the cake on the train.
Yeah.
But so that was lovely.
I love their food. I do love their food. I just can't replicate it at home. It's impossible.
No, but I did look at it thinking, oh my goodness, that would be worth learning how to do. And then, of course, Chiltern Street is just around the corner. So I didn't nip into Nowaki because I was running out of time, and I have spent a lot of money in Nowaki recently. I've just ordered boxes and boxes and boxes of stuff.
And we were invited to their
Christmas,
weren't we? Their Christmas press thing. So you've only just done that, really. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yes. So I'm just editing that video, actually. The sound's awful, so I hope it's going to be all right. And too many people were chattering. That was the problem. But I did go to Labour and Weight.
I love Labour and
bought a dustpan brush.
Yeah, I do love Labour and Weight. Yeah.
At the moment, we have one really beautiful dustpan and brush, which I bought from Silvana when she was, oh my God, Foodie Bugle.
Yes,
right
I
back
remember.
in. She runs, years and years ago, when she ran something from her home. Oh my gosh, it was when my best friend was pregnant, who I saw on Saturday, and her child is now 8. Anyway, so many, many years ago, got the most beautiful Italian horsehair dustpan brush. I keep finding it in the building site.
Nobody's allowed to use that. That's what annoys me.
No.
I bought a really good bit. So we've got lovely Watts Trading in Lostwithiel, and they do all brooms, and that's their thing. Brushes, basically, brushes. If you ever come to Lostwithiel, I highly recommend going in there if you need a brush. And apparently there is a brush for every single task. And that task, the brush, the dust brown brush I have, is not for sweeping up brick dust, basically. Yeah. So, you need to literally have a big label that says not for general purpose.
Yes. I thought, this is my moment. I knew Labour and Weight would do me a industrial looking dustpan. I've got an extra brush, so I'm sharing the brush, and of course it did. So I brought home a bag with a present for my husband, which was
I love that. I've been away and I've got your dustpan and brush. Enjoy it. Yeah, exactly.
I know. And I ate the cake, sorry. So yes, it was just a really
a bit of an
lovely
impromptu thing, really, to go up and meeting people.
Oh God, I don't know how to say. Yeah, I don't know how to say without sounding like an absolute dick, but I'm just going to say it. I discovered first class on the train.
Yeah,
and for an extra 40 quid or something, it makes getting the train.
Well, that's why when we went up, you paid for us to be in first class from Taunton.
I know.
I had to go second class all the way to Taunton. The funny thing is, in Cornwall, what I will say, in Cornwall, it doesn't make any difference because there isn't such a thing until you get to about Exeter.
Yeah.
And I do think I have actually done first class to London. And the first class, the seats were a bit bigger. The one that we were on, the carriage was really nice, but I had been on one that wasn't particularly great. And I had to moment going, are we actually in first class? It wasn't that much better. Like, I'm imagining clapper-doors and luxury velvet.
For me, it's just, I'll pay that much for quietness.
Yeah, I get that.
And not to be rammed in, and where I can work, although the Wi-Fi is atrocious. So I did have to, but that's
that bit more room around you, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes. It's quieter. It's just a bit more chilled. I don't feel constantly on edge the whole time. Yes, I will probably do more trips up to London now I've discovered that. Yeah. Because up until now I drive to Reading and then just hop on a train from Reading. But that's not a feasible way of doing things, is it?
No, exactly. This is exactly it. It is for us where we are, it's still quite a journey up. And the cost of train fares, by the way, is really, really high. If you live in Cornwall, trying to go to London, it is cheaper. Please, if anyone's from Network Rail, it should not be cheaper to drive. It should not be cheaper to drive. We should be able to get a train.
Especially if there's more than one of you and you're sharing the petrol versus tripling the cost of your train tickets.
It's eye-wateringly insane. It really is. I wish it was so much more reasonable. I really do, because I think more people would use it and it would be much better for our planet. It sounds like we've had quite a good week, really. Quite busy. Obviously, it's a few days early because you do have a special something to go to on Thursday, which you will tell us all about next week.
It's the Scribe Hound launch party.
We want to hear all glam and who you're hanging out with.
I know.
mean, goodness, will you be able to hang out with sort of friends?
Well,
yes.
Yes, absolutely.
Your little black book suddenly got a bit bigger, or your Christmas list has suddenly got a bit bigger.
I'm practicing my I'm not starstruck look whilst also being starstruck. My husband has never shown any interest in coming to anything related to what I do
until now.
It does keep asking if there's a plus one because he does adore Adam Frost and he's very envious of the fact that Sarah Raven might be there. I don't actually know. There's a couple of people who can't come. And I don't know who has confirmed and who isn't, but I think it's most of us.
Well, I definitely think we might have to dedicate a bit more time to the out so that you can definitely give us blow by blow of how that event goes. I'm very intrigued to know how it all goes. And it sounds an amazing project to be part of. So well done. That's really, really good.
Yeah.
And like I said, we'll link it in the show notes.
Just to make you even more envious, because Britt Willoughby lives just down the road from Tetbury. I'm meeting her for coffee first.
Give her a hug from me. That'll be lovely. Hi, Britt.
I shall.
I'm on my last wedding of I want to say the last wedding of the year. It really isn't, because I do really only going to be my foliage, maybe a few last things in the tunnel, but embracing things like paperweights and sillies, because I absolutely love the Hauser silly and the paperweights. Just love them. I feel like this is the last wedding before I'm going to be doing quite a lot of work. And I will be talking about my coming out of the Duchy of Cornwall nursery, which will be happening soon. I'm on the move to move everything over to the new piece of land. So I think that might form part of some of my chatter next week, which will be quite interesting. Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
So for now,
well.
though, I'm going to go out. Well, I'm actually going to make myself some lunch. We've done a lunch one, and I realised I'm really hungry because I've been on the phone
We
all morning to
have.
Bride, so I've not stopped.
You should have had a hot chocolate before you started. That would have solved it.
Sounds lovely. I shall have that as my pudding, definitely. But it's lovely
Oh,
chatting to you, Grace.
We've gone on longer because basically I'm now trapped in my studio, which might float away like a boat because the rain is so hard. I can't go anywhere.
I can actually, I think, hear it, which means it is really bad because we're pretty good on this podcast.
It's
Oh my
hammering.
goodness, you poor
I
thing.
know. I think I might have about another 6 orders that I could pack if I'm stuck here forever.
Send help, Grace. Yeah, exactly.
Send a little lifeboat.
Oh, well, listen, we'll catch up next week. I hope you have a wonderful time at your party.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.